Fed Cup 2014. As you can see in front of you, that's the structure of the way the Fed Cup works. There is a World Group at the top, then a World Group 2 beneath that. Of course, they do the World Group playoffs once they've settled up the first round in February of both the World Group and World Group 2. The World Group playoffs go off in April. And then there's Group 1, which has Americas, Europe, Africa, and Asia, Oceania. Group 2, which is the same. And then Group 3 only has Europe, Africa because there's not enough teams to fill out the rest. Group 1, Group 2, and Group 3 are all round-robin events that occur during the week, and the teams get placed during the week depending on who wins and loses and their records at the end of the week. And then you have playoffs. And in Group 2s, you have, for Europe, Africa, playoffs to determine the relegation to Group 3 and the promotion to Group 1. For Asia, Oceania, and Americas, it's just promotions to Group 1 because there is none of those groups in the Group 3. So there's no relegation for those two. Of course, in Group 1, you have promotions to go up to the World Group playoffs and then relegations to Group 2. Davis Cup is very similar, except there's only one World Group. It's not split up into two. The same amount of teams, actually, still 16 teams, whereas in the Fed Cup, there's 8 teams in the top and 8 more teams in the World Group 2, but in the end it's all the same amount of teams, 16 in the World Group arena. Also different in the Fed Cup is that all the groups play the round robin as I just described. In Davis Cup, it's actually an elimination event with a home team, just like it is in World Group. In Davis Cup, the elimination is for Group 1 and Group 2, but then in Group 3, it's round robin, and they fill out the group. There's enough teams in Davis Cup that they also have in Americas and Asia, Oceania in Group 3, and then there's one more group, Group 4, where there's a Europe, Africa still. So the Davis Cup, basically the big difference is that the first two groups actually do have elimination and a home team. For Fed Cup, it's all the groups are the round robin event. So let's get started. We go over to, we'll go from the bottom and work our way up. Group 3, as you can see, we're going to have a promotion. Now, they don't know where they're playing yet, so they still have 2013 here. But we are going to have Egypt and Liechtenstein are going to be in Group 2. They've been promoted. And the two teams that have been in Europe, Africa that are going to go down are Greece and Estonia, as you see there. So Greece and Estonia are going to be in Group 3 next year, which is sort of unfortunate. Estonia has had some good players, and Greece. Greece had Danilou. She's getting older. Estonia still has Kanepi, but she's always hurt. So maybe they'll have chances to get back up to Group 2 next year. As far as the rest of the teams in Group 3, these are very no-name countries that, we don't know these players. I don't anyway. If you do, let me know. Cyprus, maybe there's some people. Denmark, but they'll be trying to bust in to the higher groups. As far as Group 2, again, they don't know where they're playing next year either, so that's not out yet. And even Europe-Africa Group 1, none of Europe-Africa, all the way through the groups, do not know where they're going to play. It's going to be one specific spot. As you can see, actually Bosnia and Georgia are the ones relegated to Group 2 next year. Tunisia and Latvia will be moved up. And then there's the rest of the teams that you'll see, Finland, South Africa, and what have you. Now we'll continue in the Europe-Africa. Actually, I think I may be wrong here. Yes, I was wrong. Group 1, 2014, Europe-Africa does have a spot in Budapest, Hungary, indoor hard court. So, as you can see, there's a list and some good teams in there. Austria, Belarus, Great Britain, who had a shot this year but lost in the clay in their World Group playoffs. So they're back in Group 1, but with another good shot. They're going to have Robson, hopefully, and Heather Watson, Baltalcha. So they'll have a shot getting in the World Group again with Judy Murray leading their way. And you see some other Israel, Chanel Pier. There's a lot of good quality here going on. Belgium used to be big, but they've lost, Wickmeyer's been hurt a lot, and of course they lost the big ones, Kleisters and Hennen, over the couple years here. So Romania, Kirstea, big names that are going to have shots. Like I said, they'll go off in Hungary, Budapest, and there's Hungary right there. You can see they're going to have the home court advantage. We don't know the ball yet. We don't know the kind of indoor hard court. So let's jump back now to that. It knocks us out for Group 3. As I said, there's Americas and Asia are not in Group 3. So now we'll jump up to Group 2 for the Americas and Asia. And again, Americas do not know their venue yet. So Ecuador and Bahamas have been promoted. So they will not be in Group 2. They will be in Group 1. Dominican Republic didn't quite make it. Some of these others, they did not make it. So they're all going to be back in Group 2 again next year. And then let's just finish out Group 2, Asia, Oceania. They do know where they're going to be next year. They are going to be in the National Tennis Center in Kazakhstan, a nice tennis center there, indoor hard court. The men have played on clay indoors too there. They can get some quick air even in February. It could be very interesting. And again, Kazakhstan isn't even playing in this. Okay. I thought, okay, well, anyways. But you can see who we've got. Hong Kong. Some good teams. Hong Kong can be good. Philippines, that's more the men usually have somebody. The rest of them, there's not too much. But definitely, I think Hong Kong will have a good shot there, and India maybe too. Okay. We've got a ways to go to see who's going to play in those. And then let's wrap on Group 2. Let's move up to Group 1 where it gets more interesting like it did for the Europeans. In the Americas, it's going to be played in Paraguay. Outdoor clay, that's interesting. And so Paraguay is there. They will have the home court. Colombia should be interesting. Some good women, some Brazil women have come up lately. So could be. They're all going to be used to the clay. Mexico, they'll have it will be a big clay court event there. And then Asia, we have 2014. They have a schedule. Kazakhstan again. So Kazakhstan's going to be hosting both Group 2 and Group 1. Oh, and there you go. There's Kazakhstan having the home court advantage. That will definitely help them out. Uzbekistan has some good women. Indonesia, Thailand. Anyways, China, of course. But China, there was a big falling out there, and so they don't get their big guns. Peng Shui and Nali and Zhang Ji, they're not going to be playing for China. So, like Taiwan may have a better chance. Again, the Chinese controlled a lot, the federation there, and there was a falling out. I'm wondering if we're going to have a little bit of a falling out with Russia after what we saw at the Fed Cup final this year, but it's a travesty that they didn't show up and play for their team. So, we're going up to Group 1, and here's where we have a lot of action going to happen next year. There's the list for the first round in February, World Group 2. The first of the world groups, Serbia, who had was in the final of this event in 2012, didn't have a healthy Ivanovic and Jankovic the whole way through last year and suffered for it and ended up getting relegated down to World Group 2. They're going to have to fight their way back up. Just take a quick look at that. It's going to be in Montreal, Canada, so it's not going to be easy. We're going to have Bouchard and Fishman together, and they can play pretty quick and low, but so can Ivanovic. Jankovic's not bad at that, but I think Serbia is going to need both of their big guns. They're going to need them. If they don't have them, indoor hard in Canada, it's going to be cold that time of year. It's going to be very interesting what ball they pick. But I think that, they're probably going to use in that area, they may even use that stuff they use for the WTA event in Quebec. They use a rubber mat with acrylic on top. These things can be tricky if you're not used to it. So the Serbs are going to need everything they get. So I really believe they're going to need Ivanovic and Jankovic, or they're going to be fighting just to stay in the world group after being in a final a year ago. So that's going to be scary. It's going to be a good one. The other one here, Sweden and Poland. Poland's, not always been known for their great Fed Cup, but with the two Radwanska sisters, they're going to have a shot. But Sweden's not easy, and it's going to be in Sweden again, indoors. They already decided to go with the Swedish ball. It's made there in Sweden, tree torn. That ball can get heavy, though, in the cold, moist air of the damp air in Sweden that gets indoors. So that's going to be slower than you think, even though it's indoors. And if they rough that court up with some sanding, that could actually be a real slow indoor event, which I think would hurt the Polish sisters. So the Radwanskas. So that's going to be very interesting. Of course, a lot's going to be on how tired Aggie is coming from Australia. If she's pooped out, they're in trouble. If not, they should get through and continue their rise into the Fed Cup rankings. Switzerland and France, very interesting stuff here because Cornet is now finally playing some good Fed Cup tennis. I think they have a good shot. No Bartoli, she retired, but Switzerland, I mean, I would say Swiss likes the little quickness. Vogel likes to take it early, move the ball around. I would almost be careful to make this too quick. I mean, keep it slow, keep that ball. But the Wilson U.S. Open can play kind of heavy on a gritty court indoors. I think France should be able to see through as long as they're healthy. And then last but not least, Japan. Poor Japan. They finally get to World Group, and now they got up to World Group 1, or they got to World Group 1, yes, and then they got relegated down to 2 because they ended up a tough loss where Russia came from behind the first round last year in World Group 1. Japan had the 2-1 lead, and then they had to go on the road, and they had, as you can read here, Buenos Aires, I'm sorry, not Buenos, that's where they're going to be playing next year. But they had, what was it? They were on a clay court, and anyways, they were in Spain. They had Spain in Barcelona, and it was very tough on a clay court. They had the better team, Japan, but they have trouble on the clay. The points get long, they wear out, bounces are too high, so they're on the clay court again. It's just bad luck, and this is even going to be harder than Spain, if you ask me. With as long as Ormache is playing, they're going to make that slow and bouncy, slow and with maybe a bouncier ball, I would assume, and that's going to be really tough for Japan. So they just need a little luck. If they play in Japan on the quick, low bouncing stuff, they're in good shape. They have to go on this clay now. The captain said he's going to work on this, but work on it all you want, but it's going to be tough for them. So that's going to be. All those people are going to be fighting to get in the World Group playoffs and try to get up to World Group 1. And then in World Group 1 next year, we are going to have the top of the top. Again, look at this. Italy, USA, the Czech Republic and Spain, Germany and the Slovak Republic, Australia and Russia. These are all going to be great matches. We'll start off. USA and Italy have played a lot. People don't realize that. The USA holds a 9-3 edge, but Italy has won the last 3 meetings. The finals, they actually beat USA in the finals in back-to-back 9 and 10, and then they won again last year in the first round in 2013. But this time, they're in the United States. Not Italy, not on clay. Cleveland, Ohio. And I'm a big Ohio State Buckeye fan. I was born in Dayton, Ohio. Not up north, but that's southern Ohio. But anyways, Cleveland, Ohio. It's going to be cold that time of year, but it's going to be indoor hard court. Wilson U.S. Open ball. I would recommend, and I think USA would know to do this, make it as fast as you can make it. Just, you got to blitz Irani, blitz, Vinci can play that way, but whatever. You want to take Irani out of the equation, and of course, if you have Serena, it's over. If we have Serena, USA wins, but that's going to be a big if, so we'll see what happens. See how she comes out of Australia. She's getting older. I mean, it's going to be a lot of tennis before she gets there, so even without Serena, we're going to have our chance. So that's going to be a great tie because it's not in Italy and it won't be on clay. And Italy always takes advantage when they're home. And when they're on the road, it's more of a problem. Spain, Czech Republic. At first sight, this looks like an absolute blowout if you just go by the talent on each team. But the interesting thing here is it is in Spain. And they are the smartest tennis nation in the world, I think. And they can do little tricks with the clay. And I've seen the men do it in Davis Cup a lot. Now, the Czech Republic is very good at clay as well as anything else. And sometimes you think, well, those big bashers they have, Kvitova, Safarova, Radeka, they want it, the more speed you have, the better it works for them. But that's not necessarily true. When there's more time on the ball, they can wind up and smash their power shots. So that's why those girls do well on clay these days, especially with the faster balls used on clay today. So, what would Spain want to do? Well, I'd say keep it low bouncing and slick. How do you do that on clay? It's not easy, but you mix in smaller particles with larger particles. You can check my video out on clay courts that I had, my first ever video. You do that on a hard base. You harden up the base with either the material or just using a roller to flatten it even harder. And then you have some of that slippery nature. When you have smaller particles and bigger particles, it can become a slippery situation. the ball will slip through, and bigger ladies, bigger men or players, bigger players in general, will have more hard time getting their footing. Spain actually did this to the French one year. You saw Tsonga slipping all over the place. So that would be my suggestion. I have a feeling Spain will have even better ideas. I mean, they like I said, they're brilliant. So depending on what they come up with. Now, even with a great advantage on the surface, if they can do that, it's still going to be tough. I mean, talent-wise, it's all Czech Republic. The one other thing, it's right after Australia and all the tennis in the month of January, so we'll have to see how the Czechs are physically. So this could be an upset, probably not, but it could be. And then, last but not least, we have two more left. We have Slovak Republic and Germany, and I tell you, poor Germany. I mean, they've got it even worse luck than Japan. I mean, this has been going on. If you look at that little summary there, it says they haven't won a first round since 2002. This isn't because they play badly. It's because they always have such tough competition early on. And again, they have it, and it's in Slovak Republic. It's going to be on a deco color, which is the hardest acrylic they use today. So they're going to put that over wood boards. That's the DecoTurf company. So that's a hard acrylic over the wood boards. You can make it slippery quick. They're going to use the Dunlop Fort all-court ball. That ball will stay a little lower. And Hantakova, Rybakova, they're going to love this. Now the problem is for them is that Kerber and Lisicki can also play that type of tennis. I mean, Lisicki did so well on a slippery grass court this past year, and Kerber loves the fast indoor. So, I think that Slovaks have to go with that. If they get a higher bouncing, slower court, that's just going to work in Germany's favor. And if they wanted that, they would have just went to clay. So they're obviously going to go to their advantage. The Slovaks, Hantakova can take it quick and move it around and play offensive. But if Lisicki doesn't play or Kerber doesn't play, if either one is physically not fit, then it could be more of a problem maybe for Gorgeous and Barthel. But if Kerber and Lisicki are playing, I think it's all Germany. If not, then Slovaks can definitely use the home crowd and the surface to their advantage. Now, moving on, this is our last one. It's going to be very interesting to see how Russia comes out of the final. I mean, they lost the final to Italy in Italy. That's not a disaster. But the fact that almost nobody showed up for them, not only was that a disaster, it was a travesty, as I called it out in my video for the Fed Cup final. So, I'm wondering if there are some troubles there. You had this with China, as I said earlier. They had a lot of troubles. Now the big girls don't even play for China anymore. So the Russian Tennis Federation, I don't know what's going on, but we'll see. I don't think it's the same as China, but let's see what happens here. We'll see who comes and plays. It's going to be in Australia. Plexi cushion, Wilson Australian Open ball. Same conditions as you'll have for the Australian Open. So this is the one place in all the Fed Cup that happens in February that's going to be the same. Exact same. The odd thing to me is, why are they playing in Hobart? Because Hobart is one of the coolest areas. I mean, that's getting down south where it's nice and cool. And remember, it's summertime in Australia. So if you were going to play up in Brisbane, more near the equator, it would become, it would be very hot, steamy, humid. And the Russians, they're not big fans of that. That's not what they're used to, the girls from up north. So why give them cooler conditions in Hobart? I don't understand it. Maybe it's something to do with the venue. There is another added element. In Hobart, because it's surrounded so much by water and an inlet in between Hobart and the mainland of Australia, there can be a lot of wind and changing conditions. It can get kind of blustery cold a little bit, then it can get warmer on other days, and it can be a light wind to a strong wind. So maybe they think they can take advantage of those conditions, but I'll tell you, she goes by Gatisova now. Gatisova no longer, Gatisova does not play that well in those kind of windy conditions. I would almost say you're going to have to go with Barty and Stosur instead then. So I'm not really sure what the point here, what the deal is with Hobart. But it will be interesting to find out. They must have their reasons. But I think that helps Russia a little bit. So the big thing here is going to be who plays for Russia. Do they bring their big guns? How does Stosur come out of Australia? The thing about it, could she make a run finally in Australia? She's going finally with a new coach, I think. This would be interesting. And if she makes a big run, will she be too tired? If she gets knocked out early again, will she be down in the dumps? We don't know where Stosur's going to be, and that's going to be a huge factor. We don't know who's going to show up from Russia. And, and what condition Barty's going to be in. If she keeps improving, that would be great. So anyway, there's a lot to consider before we even know what's going to happen here. So, what are my picks? Well, the only teams I should say that are gonna have a chance for the World Cup finals, obviously. The rest of it is all about relegation, moving up or moving down, or promotion, I should say, moving up or moving down. The one place where you can win it are the 8 teams in World Group 1. I think USA is going to get Italy. I do think that's going to happen. Even if they don't have Serena, I think they have a shot. I think the Czech Republic and Spain is a tough, but I'll go with the favorite there, the Czechs. And then I forget. I'm not sure who's going to be at home. It depends on who was at home last. I think that's how they go with that. But Germany and Slovaks tough. But the beginning of the year, I got to think you're going to have Kerber and Lasicky, and even so, I think Barthel and Gorgas. I think Germany can finally get past that first round. And Australia and Russia, this is just, this is pot luck at this point, because I don't even know who's going to be playing. But I have a weird feeling Australia's going to finally do something here, and it's going to be Russia that goes down. So we're going to have 2 semifinalists, Slovak and Republic, and Russia go out, I think. And Italy, that makes 3. Actually, yeah, 3. And the only ones left will be the Czechs. And then I have a weird feeling maybe the Czechs, again, we're looking way too far ahead, but you get to the semifinals, I'm not even sure who's going to be at home. But either way, I think the Czechs get by the USA. If Serena plays, that's going to be something. But I have a weird feeling by then it's going to be bad timing for Serena. Maybe Venus plays, I don't know, but I think the Czechs take it. I think, maybe Germany, Australia, again, where are they going to play at? That will make a difference, but not a huge one. I think we're going to have, I don't know why, but I think Germany is going to make a huge splash, not only in the Fed Cup, but also in their singles. And I think we could end up having an incredible, Germany, Czech Republic, which nobody would expect. And I think Czechs are going to get it again. I think they're going to come back and win 3 out of 4. But that's just way too far ahead to predict, but for fun, those are my picks.